From the House of Sungo, this is Gaytopix, My Life. I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and these are real life stories, real life confessions, real life truths, actual real life events that happened to me in my lifetime. Due to the graphic nature and sensitive language of this program, viewer discretion is highly advised. Again, I'm Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopix, My Life. Remember, you're always in a mix with Gaytopix. Let's get into it. The reason why, I guess I should start there, yes, okay. Sometimes it's hard to tell the story when there are so many other things that are currently happening, present in my life. And after all, that's the whole purpose of this series, is to talk candid and honest about my life and my life experiences, because these are all true events, actual events that happened to me and that I've experienced, and I'm sharing, as I have been over the past 2.5 years, these stories to a camera. I have nobody else to talk to. There's nobody here. There's no friends. There's no family. There's nobody. I guess you can see him there, bingo. But I'm not going to do that, so I'll block his view. And it's quite difficult. Okay. It's quite difficult for me to actually tell these stories that happened to me in my life when new stories are actually developing in my life. So, I can't say you because there's nobody here, it's just the camera. So, but as I started to go through the series and tell my stories, separating them within decades of each other, because at first I did my childhood and all the individuals that impacted my life from a child to 18 years old, you know, from friends, family. I use their real names too, so if anyone wants to investigate, please do so. I have nothing to hide. It isn't defamation if it's true. It's not defamation if it's true. And that's one thing people will never seem to understand. But then there are all three sides to a story. Your side, my side, and the truth. I'm only speaking the truth because I have to live a life of truth. No one knows me. Why would I even fabricate something like that? You know, there are things though that I've come to fabricate in order to receive the necessary care and attention and support and advocacy that I need in order for me to, accomplish a task, or to get over a trauma, or to speak to someone, just on a candid basis, That's better. So just to speak to someone on a candid basis, And I find myself, though, kind of like with the immigration process. I didn't want to go here, but I guess I should. Kind of like with the asylum seekers that have come here to New York City, particularly recently when they sent the plane to Martha's Vineyard full of migrants, promising them a job and, I guess housing and all the essential things that they need to survive in a new country and a new environment. But this whole busing and flying and the whole situation down at the border has got me really thinking about something, and to me it's a modern day form of racism. And the reason why I say that is because when they come to the border, they have to be, I guess, checked or analyzed, or, to see if they're carrying or smuggling anything, and then registered to be, to get to go where they need to go. But during that time that they're there at the actual border, I think is the time that they need just to simply ask them that one question. Because you have to have a sponsor in order for you to migrate here to seek asylum. That's the question you should ask them once they come to the border. Where is your asylum? Or where's your asylum seeker? Where's your supporter? Or where's your sponsor? Where do they live? So instead of actually taking them and forcing them or putting them on a bus or a plane to these specific democratic states where their sponsors are not located at, you should just simply ask them that question at the border. So then when the individual or family member or refugee tells you where they're going, then there wouldn't be such an influx in one particular city or one particular state. So the fact that they're sending them to all these different places, unbeknownst to the migrants because they can barely speak English or know English, but to promise them work and stuff like that had me thinking something as well as a form of racism. Because when you see someone from El Salvador or Nicaragua or Ecuador or Mexico, you more than likely will see them in jobs that a typical American citizen will not take. You will never see an actual American citizen cleaning toilets or, cleaning up hotel rooms. There are always some foreign migrant who came here to seek refuge, which I'm not going to lie, I'm proud that they actually have the opportunity to get a job and work in housing and stuff like that by having these jobs readily available to them because Americans don't want to take them. But then they can't do the whole thing that they're stealing our jobs thing because you don't want to work that job. And even if you were offered that job, you wouldn't take it. That's what's happening now in the restaurant industry and the bar industry and the delivery industry, is that they're even in like Costco or Home Depot, they're begging for people to work for them because nobody wants that job and no one will take that job because of the lower wages probably, or they know they can get something better, and more than likely they will get something better, so they're not going to take that job at Home Depot or McDonald's. And when you think about McDonald's in itself is mostly employed by teenagers. So I think in someone in their 60s or 70s, that environment for them to be employed in will not be a kosher environment. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic here because my brain is a little bit fucked up right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what day it is because, as I said, current situations prevent me from telling stories from my past. So I have to tell the stories of the present in order for me to move on and share my experiences, because I'm not sure how much longer I have left. Take that as you will. I don't care. Why are you even validating an opinion? No one is watching this. I'm Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopix, My Life. Remember, you're always in the mix with Gaytopix. We'll call this one Jane, I'm Dying. As I alluded to in this episode, Jane, I'm Dying, sometimes I have to fabricate some things in order for me to get the necessary care, support, advocacy, etc., that I need in order for me to move past whatever it is that I'm being blocked by, or traumatized by, or injured by. Moreover, it all aligns with the healthcare system. In a previous episode of Gaytopix My Life, I described when I lost my sight in my right eye, that my caseworker, who's the Human Resources Administration, please follow with me. The Human Resources Administration, my caseworker, told me that I need an emergency contact in case I need to go to the hospital. So, I haven't had an emergency contact in years. He had been my caseworker for a numerous amount of years. So, I readily agreed to it. I had to sign a waiver in order for him to do that. But as I was signing the waiver, I explained to him, what it was and how important it is to be an emergency contact, and the fact that he would have to be available 24/7 in case something goes wrong. Unfortunately, he didn't agree to that because it was only his office hours and then the times that he actually was in the office. So he wasn't in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it was just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during office hours. An emergency can happen at any given time. That's what makes it an emergency. Again, please follow with me. So when I realized the mistake that I did, because they gave me a receipt or a copy of the document of saying that he was going to be my emergency contact, when it came in the mail, I did an episode describing in detail in which it stated that, I was basically signing away my rights to the Department of Homeless Services, the Department of New York City Mental Health and Hygiene, just to name a few, Health and Hospital Services, and there was another one, I can't think of it, whatever, but they wanted to know specific information about me, and they entailed what they were looking for: past trauma, hospitalizations, past injuries, if I had an abortion, if I knew somebody who had an abortion, which I don't understand why. If I live in New York City, that does not matter. But regardless to the point, moving forward, if I had HIV and AIDS, if I had COVID-19, if, all these things that really didn't make sense to me. Like, why does the Department of Homeless Services need to know if I had an abortion? Why would you even ask a male if they had an abortion? I am biologically male, so I don't even know why that question was even up for debate. But when I realized my mistake when it came in the mail, I quickly, denied the consent for him to be my emergency contact. But in this day and age with technology, a click of a button, they can get all this information. And I've explained to you in various episodes of Gaytopix My Life that several things have been happening to me, where I'm feeling paranoid and people are following me and certain things are happening. But they're all happening now because now these people have an open umbrella to my files and my records, and they're looking for things to fill their quotas. So if they don't have anything, they're going to cause something to happen, or maybe ignore you, or make you feel a certain way in order for you to seek out treatment for that. Like, I found it pretty odd that there was an ambulance parked outside the house every single time I walk my dog. Like, why are you idling in the street like that? At this specific time, every single day. Shouldn't you be at work? Shouldn't you be driving to emergencies? Shouldn't you be doing something? But you're there positioned with your lights on. No one's in there, but it's just you sitting there in the ambulance parked in front of my house. Found that very strange. Then I also found it strange that people started to call me my government name. People don't know my government name, or when you do know my government name, it's only certain people can call me my government name. So to have someone like a stranger call me my government name is really offensive to me, and who gave you the right to do so? So that was strange to me as well. And then this whole thing with my eye and becoming blind, and them considering it to be an emergency. I didn't want to go to the emergency room back then when I first had my eye, when I first became blind, as you saw in previous episodes. Who is you? As I have done in a previous episode of Gaytopix My Life, in case no one's following, because no one is following, because no one's watching. But anyway, I didn't want to go to the emergency room because I knew that I would be at risk of contacting COVID-19. Now, I'm suspicious about that recently now too, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But I didn't want to go to, having this exposure to, vulnerability in my eye, in which, I have this exposed skin and I'm tearing and crying and sensitive to the light and I'm blind, and it just opened, and all of these nurses and stuff like that would look at it, and I would possibly, more than likely, particles in the air of someone who had COVID from their COVID breath would go right into my eye. And studies have shown that when people go to the emergency room, more than likely, they end up staying there or becoming sick because of their visit to the emergency room. So I try to avoid the emergency room as much as possible, but when I need it done, or when I go to an emergency room, like if I'm being arrested or something like that, it should all work accordingly, and things should be moving in certain directions, and things should play out smoothly. Like, oh, he's not there anymore, but like when I adopted Bingo, and they put me through the mental hospital at Harlem Hospital. It was a whole procedure. And then there was another mental health thing that they did where someone did a wellness check, and I went to Columbia Presbyterian, and it was a whole procedure where the doctors were telling me to say this and say that and say this and say that. So things should run smoothly and accordingly. When they don't run smoothly and accordingly, it can cause more harm than help. And I think that's what happened with my eye, was that when I did get someone to actually finally listen to me, and I believe that I was actually going blind and losing my sight. I mean, you couldn't tell from the fucking pictures of what my eye actually looked like. It looks so much better now, but back then it didn't, and you could clearly see something was wrong. I don't know why I have to explain to you, but it did. So they sent me to the hospital, and they took cultures, is what they called it, cultures. Isn't that the what's the name's baby name? Anyway, so the culture was basically a lab test or biopsy for them to send to the lab and find out what was actually wrong with my eye, to treat my eye accordingly and properly. Now that they would know what was wrong. It would take up to a week for them to get the results of that test. But while I was in the emergency room, going to the hospital, all of these people, like I said, were in my face, and like I said, their COVID breath in my fucking eye. I'm like, what is going on here? So I was like, okay, I'm going to my actual primary care physician, and then he gave me medication, and that's what I've been taking, and as you see, it's clearly helping a lot. I'm still blind, and I've adjusted my eyesight to seeing from just one eye, but that was not considered an emergency like they all claimed. Because once everyone saw it, I looked like a freak show, and everybody was like, "Ooh, whoa," and taking pictures and stuff like that of my eyes. And I'm like, okay, but you're not actually helping me or giving me any kind of services. They gave me a medication that my prescription drug plan, they gave me eye drops that my prescription drug plan did not cover. Moreover, it cost $92 every 2 days. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a recession. Who the hell has that money? When I explained that to the nurse, because she called me 2 days later after my visit with the hospital, and I explained to her that I couldn't take the medication or get the medication filled because my Part D prescription plan does not cover it. Is there a generic version? She was so adamant about me taking that medication and those particular eye drops, and refused to even offer me any kind of other medication as an alternative, or any eye drop as an alternative. I found that completely absurd and ridiculous, and I was offended highly by this act of this unethical behavior, So I said, I'm going to cancel, because they wanted me to show up there every 2 days. That's why she called me 2 days from my actual first visit, because I didn't show up for the appointed time that they wanted me to. I'm blind. How can I get around? I don't have any friends or anybody like that. I can't see, and you want me to take the train where they're pushing and shoving people and stabbing people and hitting people in the head with hammers and shit like that, to go to see you at the hospital every 2 days, and I can't see, with no medication, no pain management, nothing. I'm just sitting here, so I explained to her, I was like, I can't go anywhere because I can't see, and my eye is now closed again. Is there another medication or a generic version of the eye drops that you can give me? Nope. She refused. So I was like, I'm not going back to this hospital. But after my primary care physician ended up giving me eye drops, there was no need for me to go back to the hospital anymore. But I did want to know what the test results were, and for my own for my own records, and to help with my primary care physician treatment of my eye. Unfortunately, they blocked me from actually even receiving those records. I myself went to the hospital again to actually obtain those records, and the records that I got were highly redacted, and it didn't even say what was wrong with my eye. And the information that was on the records was what I informed them of. Nothing from the doctor's diagnosis, nothing from the lab, nothing. So when I asked for it, no one ever actually gave me a copy of it. So I just continue on with the eye drops that my doctor prescribed me. And as you see, the ghostly thing is not there anymore, but Jane, I'm dying. Jane, I'm dying. And I'm going to leave it right there for a second because I have to go pee. Remember, you're always in the mix with Gaytopix. Be right back. Hi, welcome back to Gaytopix, My Life. Jane, I'm Dying. I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopix, My Life. These are real life stories, real life confessions, real life truths, actual events that happened to me in my lifetime. Due to the graphic nature of this program and sensitive language, viewer discretion is highly advised. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022. Again, I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopix, My Life. Jane, I'm Dying. Remember, you're always in the mix with Gaytopix. Back to what I was saying earlier was that because they didn't treat it, my eye and being blind, like an emergency as it was, and giving me the proper medicine to treat the injury, I actually lost my sight. Same thing when I went to the hospital for special surgery. I was seen by no less than 12 doctors who all had one opinion. And that one opinion was for me to do surgery. That surgery was never conducted. Again, I was left in pain. My life had been dramatically altered and changed because of this injury. And the same thing with my eye. I am now permanently scarred. And all of these things are happening to me because of one simple issue. And that issue is that I'm dying. I know what death is because I've seen death firsthand. I've experienced death firsthand by losing my dog of 21 years and my family. I know what death looks like. I've seen it. And I know I'm dying because my body is failing. And I know they say when you get older, things start to fail or it takes longer to heal, but these things were happening all of my life, and they keep happening, and nothing is ever being done or treated. Like, I'm in so much pain. They don't give me any medicine. No medicine. I remember going to the emergency room several times and then giving me medicine for pain or treating the pain. Now it's like, yeah, okay, just take a Tylenol. And it's not even those good Tylenols that I used to get in the army where it'd be like 900 milligrams or whatever it was. It's the shit that you can buy over the counter. So why am I in the emergency room, or you trying to act like you're treating the pain by only giving me a Tylenol? I can't even see throughout my eye, and I'm very sensitive to light, and I'm constantly tearing. You see there's something clearly wrong. Then I was paralyzed at one point, and I'm like, you can see that because I was doing all these assessments, and I'm having all these different doctors tell me all these things. But again, nothing was done. Now, the body in itself heals in time. Yes, it does heal. The body does heal itself in time. But as I said earlier, as you get older, it takes longer to heal. Moreover, when it's not actually treated properly, it will take longer to heal. And more than likely, give you a scar. I'm forever scarred with this eye. I'm forever scarred with my arm. I'm forever scarred with this big reveal that I'm about to show you. Because there's a reason why I'm here today. I was here yesterday, and in the span of just simply 12 hours, maybe, things can go wrong like that. And they can go severely wrong, and they can have lasting and lifelong effects. Let me just do the intro first, okay? Okay. From the House of Songo, this is Gaytopixmylife. From the House of Songo, this is Gaytopixmylife. I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and these are real life stories, real life confessions, real life truths, actual events that happened to me in my lifetime. Due to the graphic nature and sensitive language of this program, viewer discretion is advised. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022. I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopixmylife. Jane, I'm dying. At 3 o'clock this morning, 3, maybe 4, it was somewhere around there. I don't know what happened, but I was woken out my sleep, and I had to go to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, I had a seizure, or something to that effect. I don't know if you want to call it seizures, because when you're having a seizure, you're making all these like bodily movements and stuff like that, and having convulsions. that's not what I experienced and what I've gone through in my life. These things are more like dizzy spells or knockout like spells. I don't know how to phrase it, because how I've been able to get through it from my life is that I know that it's going to happen because things get dark and then the room starts to spin and then I get dizzy and then I just fall. So how I've been trying to prevent that from happening is normally when I see the room getting dark, I would try to at least hold on to something. So when I drop, I actually holding on to something that'll keep me balanced and not injure myself. And it's worked. But because I have a history of seizures or these things that happen, they had me on this drug called Crepa, an anti-seizure medication. So I was on the medication, but I was still having seizures. So to me, I mean, they weren't as frequent as they were when I wasn't on it, but when I was on it, I was still having them. So to me, it defeated the purpose of taking the medication. So I stopped taking medication. And again, I was able to live fine, and everything was fine. I haven't had a seizure, or when they did, it was very mild. And again, like I said, I would hold on to something or put my back against the wall, so when I drop in a way that I will not injure myself. But this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was awoken out of my sleep. I don't know why, but I just woke up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go pee. So I went to go pee, and as I'm standing there peeing, the room got dark. It was already dark because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was eerily quiet, and it got so pitch black that I could not even see me and my cock peeing. I could not see myself using the bathroom, and I'm standing right there. So I knew it was coming, but I was still urinating at the same time. So I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? So my main focus was to hold the pee while I can actually hold on to something, get to something before something happens when I fall down. But again, this is all happening in seconds. This is really fast, and I guess I didn't have enough time, and I fell. My head hit the marble tank of the toilet, and then I saw stars, and then my head brushed against the actual bowl, and then it hit the floor. I don't know how long I was out, but I was out for a while, because when I tried to get up using my hand, there was so much blood that I slipped again, and I end up hitting my nose here. I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to do a big reveal. I'm going to lead up to it. So I don't know how long I was out, but I must have been out for a long period of time, because there was so much blood. It looked like a crime scene. And once I realized that there was so much blood there, and I got up very slowly, and as I said, I slipped, and I tried to get up again, but this time I held the railing of the tub, and I used that as well as the shower curtain to get up. But in doing so, the shower curtain ends up ripping, and I fall down again. I don't know how long I was out. I was out. When I woke up, there was even more blood, and I was like, okay, I have to get in the shower now. So I immediately jumped in the shower because I was still bleeding, and so I jumped in the shower to clean the blood, and I noticed the blood on the floor, and the entire floor and the rug was covered in blood, soaked in blood. And I was like, oh my God. So I got out, and I immediately dressed the wound with the first thing that I saw, or that I could get. And the first thing I could get was a pillowcase that I can easily tie around my head. And that's exactly what I did. And I left it like that until this afternoon. But in the meantime, I tied it up. So mind you now, this is now maybe like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I am not sure, but it's still dark. And I know it had been some time. And after cleaning the blood up and getting myself collected, it was so early in the morning and I was so tired because I had just woken up out my sleep, and now I finished cleaning up and washing my hands and bleaching the floor and cleaning up the mess so the dog won't get into it. I was so exhausted I went back to sleep. When I woke up, I was still on there, but this time I was in so much pain that I was forced to actually reconnect my phone and call 911. That's something that I haven't shared with you guys, like the people there. I actually disconnected my phone 2 years ago. I haven't been online or social media or anything like that. I don't have social media. I don't do none of that stuff. I don't use my phone. I don't. And the reason why I don't use my phone is because what I alluded to earlier in this episode about me signing my rights away is that there was a breach in my data usage on my phone. There was also a breach in my bank. There was also a breach in my Part D prescription drugs. So they were all trying to gain access to this information that they can't access, and so there's a breach, and now lawsuits are being started and class action lawsuits are being litigated, and I'm now part of this because I signed my rights away unbeknownst to me because I was blind. But back to this 3 o'clock in the morning. No, it's not 3, it's now like maybe 5. So I go to sleep and I end up waking up, and I woke up, it was like maybe 10:30, 11, and I had such a horrible migraine. It was really like I do right now. It's throbbing like there's a drill, like woo, 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 woo. And then the light is burning, and it's hard to actually even concentrate to even give the right sentence. And I'm also bleeding from my nose, which is a sign of death. When you bleed from your ears and your nose and your mouth, there's something wrong and internally, and you're close to dying, which is why you're bleeding from those open extremities. I know I'm dying, but to me, the problem is that it's a prolonged process and it's taking too long. How long do I have to suffer in this agonizing life of suffering and struggling and pain, physically and mentally and emotionally, draining me? Every ounce of confidence and self-worth that I have is being taken from me. And I'm being left with these life-altering disabilities and scars. And I say that because when I came back from walking the dog at 11:30, 12 in the afternoon, I take a shower and I brush my teeth and I do what I need to do. And I clean the wound. And then when I get out the shower, that's when I looked at it. And I was like, oh no. I need to go to the hospital. So I reconnected my phone and I called 911. Again, this is an emergency. When you're delivered by ambulance to an emergency room, you're going by an emergency. It was bleeding, but it wasn't bleeding as bad as it was earlier in the morning when it first happened. But I was still bleeding. So I call an ambulance and go to the hospital. They send me to Beth Israel Hospital. I don't know why, when it's so far away from where I actually live. I wanted to go to Presbyterian, but they sent me to Beth Israel, and I didn't know why. But I was like, just take me somewhere where I can just go in and out, please. I don't want to be bothered by there. So they took me to Beth Israel. But when I got there, I knew I wasn't going to be in and out, which is highly expected of someone, emergency room in New York City. But I didn't expect it to be as crowded as it was, because, the emergency room is not utilized as it should right now, other than kids with respiratory viruses or someone with COVID or RSV or monkeypox or whatever, but gunshot wounds, things of that nature. So I decided to take an ambulance so I could be admitted right away and be treated right away, because this happened almost 12 hours later, 12 hours ago. And I get an emergency, they look at it and they're like, whoa. And I go to the emergency room and everybody's taking pictures like they did with my eye. I don't get it. So they all start taking pictures and they all like, okay, you're going to be treated, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They send me to a room that's in the dark. There were no lights. I thought maybe perhaps they were actually helping me because of my sensitivity to the light and the headaches, but the curtain was closed and it was in a little, like maybe 4x4 space of the emergency room, and it was dark, and the EMTs just left me there, and I stayed there for an hour or two, and I got the feeling that no one actually knew I was sitting there, because the curtain is closed and it's dark, and no one had actually come to address me or inform me of anything, or that they were my doctor, or what was wrong with me, or anything like that. And so I got really irate and I started to panic, and I had a panic attack because I'm sitting there by myself, and I was like, I'm hearing bells and this woman screaming for the nurse, and no nurse is coming because she's continuing to scream for a nurse. And then there's a cold blue on the loudspeaker, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be in and out of this place. It's going to take a really long time. Why did they send me? And I said, I don't want to be here. They didn't dress my wound. They didn't treat my wound. They didn't give me any medication for the pain for my wound. They didn't even look at my wound. They just left me there. But what made me really have that panic attack while sitting in that dark space was that I recollected, because I don't have a phone or anything like that. I'm sitting there by myself in an emergency, as they claimed. And I remembered, I was like, wait, Beth Israel Hospital was that hospital that was inundated or influxed with COVID-19 patients back when New York City was the epicenter of the coronavirus, and the nurses didn't have the enough PPEs to wear, so they were wearing garbage bags. Please look this up. I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. This is a true story. At Beth Israel Hospital, the nurses were forced to wear garbage bags to treat the COVID-19 patients. Once I realized that, I was like, oh shit, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I started to walk out the door. As I'm walking out, people, nurses are walking right by me. They're on their phone. No one's asking me a damn thing or asking me any questions, or even when I tried to ask a question, oh, I can't, sir, I got to get back to the front, or I can't, sir, I got to go over here. They just blatantly ignore me, and I'm like, wow, this is really not cool. So I'm trying to find the exit to get out, and so I couldn't find the exit, so I saw a doctor, and I stood right there in front of the nurse's station, and no one addressed me. No one. So I said, you see, this is the problem that I'm having. And I said that really loudly. I said, this is the problem that I'm having. No one is actually acknowledging my presence here. If this is such an emergency, I came in by ambulance, I should be treated accordingly. Sir, you have to wait because there are more patients with more severe ailments and injuries than you have. Now, I may understand that, but I came in by ambulance. That should at least, oh man, I hate to say, level up. Yeah, that's a good way of phrasing it. That should at least be a level up for the patients who literally just walked in the door and are waiting to be seen, So I should have had a level up, and I didn't. And again, no one had addressed me. And even as I'm standing right here telling you this, you're not even actually paying attention to me because you're focusing on something else. This is not the kind of care or service that I want. I actually want to get out of here. You're free to go wherever you want. Okay, so I'm going to leave. As I proceeded out the door, I'm being questioned by someone. Sir, where are you going? Where are you going, sir? I was like, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. You need a form to check out. I was like, if I'm free to go, what the fuck do I need a form for? You need to be discharged. Okay, so just tell them I'm leaving and I don't want to be here anymore. So as I continue to walk out of the building, they continue to follow me, and then the next thing I know, a security guard jumps in front of me. Then there are police, and then I'm like, oh, I can't do anything if the police are going to intervene. So I just like, you know what, send me wherever you got to send me. So they put me in a new room. So they just changed the room and left me in this new room where there was somebody watching me because I tried to get up and leave again, and he was like, where are you going, sir? And at that point, I was like, I'm going to speak to the doctor on the third time, because I realized that now that this guy I tried to have a conversation with, because he's sitting there doing nothing either. He just in his uniform, with a clipboard, pretending to write things down, but he's not really writing anything down, and he's just sitting there talking and on his phone and whatever. Because he had showed some pictures to another nurse or something in scrubs, and they're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So I tried to engage in conversation with them, but they completely ignored me. It wasn't until that I actually left that new room that's when they said, sir, where are you going? And I was like, who even told you to watch me? So I was told to tell you to talk to the doctor. Okay, well, can someone get the doctor? I can't get the doctor for you, but you can't leave the room. I'm like, why can't I leave the room? What's going on here? Why am I being treated in this demeanor? Moreover, I feel like I was being arrested because now I'm actually forced to stay in the hospital because you consider it to be an emergency. But yet I haven't been seen, or I haven't been introduced to my doctor or had my vitals checked or anything like that. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And now I can't leave. So I go back to that same nurse's station that I was at, and I demand them to give me gauze and saline solution and stuff like that to clean the wound, because I said I can clean the wound and I can dress the wound better than you can sitting here waiting. Sir, do you realize the risk that you're taking by leaving? I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to be in this environment, and you're causing more harm than you are help by leaving me there by myself. When I went to Columbia Presbyterian all those times, and I remember telling another patient in the hospital, Beth Israel tonight, that when I went to Columbia Presbyterian 3 times, I went there 3 different times to the emergency room. One was when I walked in, another one was when I came through by ambulance, and another one was when I was arrested. So I went through 3 different times, and I know the process and the procedure that they do at their hospitals to know how the transition works. As I said, when I walked in the door, there's people constantly talking to me and telling me, say this, say this, say this. So there wasn't maybe like 5 or maybe 10 minutes that there wasn't somebody actually engaging with me or talking to me. Here at Beth Israel, it had gone out 3 hours now, and I'm sitting there, and like I said, I haven't even had my vitals done or even done anything. So this is now the first time that I'm actually talking to a doctor, who was my actual doctor. And she was like, well, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. And I'm like, no, you're not. I don't even know your name. You don't even know my name. They give you, to prove to you that I was in the hospital, there's my admit thing there. So there's something wrong with this too, because it's supposed to be red because I'm allergic to penicillin. And that should be the first thing that should have been addressed, and it wasn't. Again, whenever I interacted with a doctor or somebody at Columbia Presbyterian, they constantly asked me to tell them over and over again my name and my birth date and my address. It got to the point where I was like, well, damn, why do I have to keep repeating myself? But I get it. I get it now, because these people didn't do that. They didn't even know my name or ask me my name or even knew where I was. Because remember when I told you they put me in a new room? They were looking for me in the old room. So that's according to the new nurse now, because now we're talking, because I want her to discharge me to give me the slip that those security guards and the police were telling me that I needed to get out of the hospital. So as she's typing up thing, they're talking codes and doing things like that. I don't know what they're doing or what they're saying, because I don't know medical terminology or codes that they use, secret codes, for the level of trauma or patients, whatever. But I was cleared, and they told the security guard that, and he was like, okay, you're free to go. I was like, don't I need a piece of paper? Did you or did you not stop me and force me to come back into this emergency room to tell me to get a fucking piece of paper? Why are you telling me now that I don't need the paper for me to leave? They made the situation much worse by keeping me there than they did by actually helping me. And I did not get the level of care that I should have gotten from that particular hospital. And I can guarantee you now, I will never go to the hospital again. Now, according to this, again, I'm using real names here. According to Dr. Sonia Stokes. Oh, Lori Stokes. Sonia, though. Her name is Sonia Stokes. I didn't even know her name until I just read it. Dr. Sonia Stokes has informed me that the patient of the risks and consequences which accompany discharge from the hospital at this time. These include, and she took her pen and wrote this, risk of injury, infection, bleeding, disability, and possibly death. Now, to me, if that's a level of an emergency, why would you not care for me accordingly as if it were an emergency or a deathly crisis? Where I could be risking my life here if I did not get the proper care. I did not. So to me, this discharge is frivolous. It's a piece of shit. And she wrote that just to clear her name so there wouldn't be any liability against her. I get it. That's okay. That's fine and dandy. But I'm telling you, I did not get the level of care that I needed at that particular hospital. It would have been nice if someone would have came up to me every 5 minutes or 10 minutes to have me repeat my information, because that way I was actually engaging with someone. I'm sitting there by myself, and then when I come back to the hospital because I leave, I'm forced, and I have this guy watching that's not even engaging with me, watching me and forcing me to stay. And then when I try to leave, I have to get this discharge paper that you really don't need. The healthcare system has really changed my life and fucked up my life dramatically, and I'm really disappointed by the lack of attention and care and unethical treatment that I've received from every institution in New York City. I am disappointed by this whole process. I don't even want to seek treatment now. I don't. I'm going to leave it as it is, like I was forced to leave all the other injuries, like my blindness and my paralysis and my muscle loss and my atrophy and my migraines. I have to live with it as a part of me now. And I am scarred for life, but it's a part of me now, and I have to live with that. But these things are happening because I'm dying. I don't understand why it is that I just can't die. These ailments and injuries are just making things worse for my life when it could just simply end it all. Why am I still here? What is my purpose? What am I here for? To go through all this shit and neglect from every institution possible? Be alone and by myself? Jane, I'm dying. Jane, I'm dying. This has been really hard for me, this whole docu-series, and I'm glad to shed light on this, but it hasn't helped in any shape or form. Yes, it's good to vent, but it's not good when no one's actually helping or here to listen or to acknowledge my presence. I find that really fucked up in a way. Like, how do you have a patient in the hospital emergency room who's there for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, and you don't even check their vitals? You know, like, what the hell? And so the emergency room became more and more inundated with people. That's why I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I left. And I came home and I started to record this. And so here we are. Remember, you're always in the mix with Gaytopix. I'm Kenny Cruz, and this is Gaytopix, My Life. Jane, I'm dying. And now for the big reveal. Wait. The next commercial break. After the commercial break. You know how they do like an American Idol or a drag race? It's like, bitch, don't go to a commercial, just tell me who it is. From the House of Songo, this is Gaytopix, My Life. Jane, I'm dying. I'm your host, Kenny Cruz, and these are real life stories, real life confessions, real life truths. Actual true stories that happened to me in my lifetime. Due to the graphic nature and sensitive language of this program, viewer discretion is advised. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved. It's not defamation if it's true. I don't think Stokes will lose her license. I don't think anyone will be held accountable for what happened to me or what transpired to me this afternoon. But I can tell you right now, I did not have a good experience. 0 out of 5 stars. 0. Beth Israel Hospital is not the hospital to go to. Please, anyone, stay clear. Stay clear from that place. Anyway, so now the big reveal. What this whole entire episode has been about. They didn't do this. The EMTs did this. Just want to make that clear. No doctor did this. The EMTs put this dressing on. And this is the first time that I'm actually going to take it off since being in the emergency room. I want you to see the neglect and sheer unprofessionalism by the medical institution in New York City is profoundly fucked up. And I think it all boils down to what insurance you have. Because I can guarantee you, if I was coming out of my pocket with some fucking money, I would not have left the emergency room like this. I'm having problems even opening it. That's the whole thing with reveals. Let me see if this will work if I go like that. The tape is there though. Okay, let me do it like that. Okay. There. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You can see blood there. Dun, 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 dun. Make sure you got a good view right there. Ow. Oh. Look at that wound. Look at that wound. And they allowed me to sit there. To sit there this entire time. Can't reuse that. It's fucked up, isn't it? It's what they left me with. They left me like this. I could easily go somewhere and they can do it within, or I can be treated properly, you know, or at least be seen by a team of people. Like I explained when I was blind, there were so many nurses looking at my eye. Like, why was it at this particular hospital no one paying any attention to me? And then when I do leave, you force me to stay and wait. Who the fuck does that? You're not gonna force me to wait. I'm free to go. And I'm much better at home than I am in this hostile environment where they're agonizing cries of people in pain that are still being ignored. I understand there are people with more severe injuries than me, but when you come in through the ambulance, you should at least be treated accordingly. Moreover, my head is literally split the fuck open. And I'm going to be scarred for life. But they didn't care. They did not care because they just allowed me to sit there. So when she says, this Laurie Stode, I was going to call her Laurie Strokes, but Sonia Stokes, when she says death, she is true on one thing, that I could possibly die. But number two, knowing that as a professional and a mandated reporter, as a doctor, the fact that you put that on that sheet of paper and allowed me to walk out that door shows how professional you are, or unprofessional you are. Unethical treatment of someone in desperate need of medical attention and care. Moreover, the fact that I was forced to stay and wait and still not be addressed by a medical professional was really concerning to me. Really concerning to me. Because had I walked through the door like I anticipated with the ambulance, I went through the door, through the ambulance, they find me a bed, I check my vitals, maybe at least an hour or two would go by, but it would take probably, 5-10 minutes to staple that up, you know, or stitch it up, or I don't know what they would do. I don't know. I'm going to be scarred for life, and this is my reality. I got to put this thing back on. It's it's really unfortunate that it has me not wanting to trust the system. I don't trust the system. I don't value the system. I don't appreciate the system. I don't want to be involved in the system. I don't want to be nowhere near the system. Because when something happens to me like this is a severe emergency. As you see, I'm sitting here alone talking to a fucking camera. This is a severe medical crisis, and I'm sitting here talking to a fucking camera because I was not treated properly when I went to the fucking hospital. And I'm not going to sit there and be forced to wait and not even be addressed by my fucking name. That's not going to happen. So when the nurse met me for the first time, she had to sign the discharge papers. But then she tried to, play it off and like, well, you can do your CAT scan because they were saying I needed a CAT scan done because I'm bleeding from my nose and it could be something internally wrong. Because my nose is like bleeding and there could be something internally wrong because look at the wound, it wouldn't surprise me. And there's a scar here, you see. I might have broken my nose or something. I don't know. I don't know anything because I wasn't seen by a fucking doctor. She didn't even see me or anything or want to look at it when I was even doing the discharge. So to me, like, come on. But as she was signing the paper, because she needed a witness and stuff, which I noticed that they happily cut off. They cut off and only gave me a redacted part. But that's okay. Redacted versions are, I guess, the new normal. And what you say, or actually what is the truth, is never really talked about, right? Or when it's talked about, no one believes it or wants to hear it, which is why who is running for president again. I can't even put that in my head right now. What the hell is he thinking? Like, what are people thinking? Like, why would you even want to, even after it was proven, like, why would you even vote for him again? Oh. Needless to say, she had to say these things to cover her ass, and I get it. She's a doctor, and she doesn't want to lose her 6-figure income, so I get it. I understand it, but I still was not treated with the proper care that I should have been, and therefore I left. But this bloody gauze thing here. And this huge hole above my eyebrow. The EMT said I would possibly maybe need 40 to 50 stitches. I hope that I don't even want to go to the hospital at this point. Why do I even bother going to the hospital if I'm not going to be taken seriously or even seen in a appropriate time? I just can't see how at least a minimal of 3 hours, 4 hours in the hospital, but to actually not be seen within the first 2 hours or hour of getting there is really fucked up. It's really fucked up because I should have at least met my doctor, or my doctor should have informed me on what was going on or what was happening, not until the actual time that I was actually wanting to leave. Because again, I mean, anybody who could sit in my situation, just think about it for a second. You're in this hostile environment where these people are loudly moaning and groaning, and they're not having intercourse or relations, they're in pain. And they're calling for nurses, and there's so many people, and there's so many things going on. It's an emergency room. I get it. I understand that. But having to be there by yourself with no interaction with anyone, hearing all that, can really can cause mental distress, I should say. You see, I'm trying to find the right words to say or to speak, and I can't. That's another thing that I've noticed that's starting to happen to me, is that I can't get to the point. But when I do get to the point, it's made quickly. Anyway, that's my big reveal. I hope I could do another video. I don't even know if that's even possible, because I could possibly die tonight. Or I could possibly get a huge infection causing me to go blind in my left eye. Or I can easily call 911 again. But if I call 911 again, they're going to send me to another hospital, and the hospital is going to keep me there forever again. That's not going to work. And it's going to look bad on my record, because it'll show that I actually went to the hospital earlier today. And the fact that I'm calling an ambulance again doesn't look right. And more likely people would get suspicious and want to pry into my information. So I can't, and then the red flags will probably be everywhere on my account. And so I really don't want to even be bothered if I'm just going to sit there and wait. It can take you 5, maybe 10 minutes to stitch this up and send me on my way. And whatever else is bothering me, I can address with my primary care physician, but that's not how it went and how it happened. And I was just sitting there by myself. But hopefully I'll gain the strength. No, I won't. I won't go to the hospital. I'm not going to the hospital. Just die. I want you to die. Just die. You're not worthy of anyone's love or attention or affection. Even those who are hired to train or trained to do just that. You're not worthy of anything, Kenny. Nobody likes you. Nobody wants to be bothered with you. Nobody cares. You're a worthless bum. An ugly loser. Just die.